In this spreadsheet, we are going to set up a way for us to track the frequencies of alleles in a population. So I'm going to show you how to get this set up. So this is a blank spreadsheet, and I want to show you a couple of things you can do. So I have color-coded my spreadsheet. Now if you end up having some kind of errors and you want to add a column or add a row, you don't have to redo your whole spreadsheet. You can insert columns and rows. So for example, over here I would click on the J column, right click, and then click on Insert. And now we have another column added. And you can go to Clear Formats, and everything will be cleared. In the gene pool table, we need to have 20 individuals, so there was a mistake here. So we can click on this row, go to Insert, and it will insert a new row above. And now everything looks good. We can also add some borders. If you go to this little square tab, there's several different options for borders for your tables. I'm going to select all borders for some of these tables here. Now I have adjusted my tables how I like them, and we're going to start off with a population of 20 individuals, and there will be two types of alleles, red coloration and green coloration. So we're going to start off with an equal ratio of red to green alleles. So we will start off with 10 red to 10 green, so we'll have a ratio of 1 to 1. And what we are going to do is use this helper table over here to automatically fill out our population so we don't have to keep adjusting it manually each time. So there's a few formulas that we are going to use to do this. So we're going to fill in the color choices, and this will depend on which color variations you choose, but I'm going to do red and green. In the first row in this helper column, I'm going to put in the number 1. Then below that, I'm going to put an equal sign, insert the cell above, plus the quantity associated with that cell, and press enter. And then I'm going to insert the cell above this cell, plus that quantity. So it is important for this table to be set up this way. Now what we are going to do is put in the number of red alleles and green alleles in our population here, and you'll see that this table automatically adjusts. Then we're going to use a function that will read out this table and automatically populate the colors in the gene pool. We're going to go over to cell B2, and this is the function that we're going to use. We're going to use a VLOOKUP function and the row function with 1:1. We want to use this helper table. Make sure that you're selecting the actual values and not the table headers, and you lock that with the $signs. We want the second column to be red, and then we will press enter. And if we double click, everything will be filled out. So you'll see that we should have 10 red alleles and 10 green alleles if this worked correctly. So that looks good. The first thing we're going to do is go over to this selection cell, and then we're going to use the rand between function and use the numbers 1 and 20 in order to randomly select one of these individuals. So if you press the F9 key, this number will change, and as you're working through your spreadsheet, you will see this number change. So don't worry about that. This is what happens with random number generators. So let's say we will use this individual and track this person's alleles. So we'll put that individual in the population column. And we want this color column to interpret the genotype of this individual and figure out what alleles this person has. This individual is going to have 2 offspring, and we're just going to keep it simple, but the offspring are going to have the same genotype as the parent. So we're going to use an if and a VLOOKUP function. So we will start off with the if function. If cell D2 is greater than 0, then we want to use a VLOOKUP function, and we want to look up the value in cell D2. We will use this gene pool table here and press F4 to insert $signs. We want Excel to read the second column, and we want this to be an exact match, so we'll put 0 there. We'll close the parentheses, and then we need to finish the rest of the if statement. So what will happen if this is false? So if that's the case, we want there to just be a blank cell. So we're going to use 2 quotations and then end parentheses and press enter. So now this interpreted the alleles for individual 15, and I'm going to click and drag this down so that it fills out as we make adjustments. So if I were to track more individuals, it should automatically fill out this table accordingly. Now we want to list out each allele for each person, and we're basically just going to copy cell E2, what we calculated there, and just click and drag so that this fills out the table as we add in more values. And we want to count how many alleles are in the population. So we're going to do some COUNTIF functions. So we want to count this entire range, and we want to count all of the red alleles, plus another COUNTIF function, this range again, and we want to count all of the green alleles, and this will count the total alleles in the population. For the total red and total green, we'll do basically the same COUNTIF function, except it's just going to be one of the alleles we're counting, not a combination. So we'll use COUNTIF. We'll select our range, and we want to count all of the red alleles. And we'll do the same thing for the green alleles. Now I have cleared my population, and we can start actually tracking the alleles in this population. So remember, we started off with a ratio of 1:1, basically equal amounts of red alleles and green alleles in this population. So we're going to use this random number generator to randomly select an individual and just type in these individuals here until we get to 20 alleles. So I can press F9 just to start generating some random individuals. And I'll keep an eye on the totals here. So now we have 20 alleles, and we can see our ratio of red alleles to green alleles. So we have 8 red and 12 green. So that's a ratio of 2:3. So we will need to adjust our helper table and put the right number of alleles in this column, in the quantity column here. And now our gene pool table should adjust automatically. So then we will clear this again, and we'll keep doing the same process a few times just to see what happens to our population. So we have 20 individuals again. This time we have 6 red alleles and 14 green alleles. So we will put 6 and 14 in our table and then clear this out and do this process again. Now we have 20 alleles again, and we ended up getting the same ratio. That's okay. The main thing is to keep doing this a few times just so you can see some changes in your population and get an idea of what is happening to your population. So it will differ for each person's own data set. So just keep playing around with this and do this several times in a row until you get some data and see what happened to your population. And that is the end of this genetic drift lab.